right, episode 7, Warrior's Voice. Sir, where are we now located?
We are still aboard Parris Island. We are in the Religious Ministry Center. Is that RMC? And we're here with Petty Officer Benoit.
Benoit, sir.
Benoit. I will do push-ups afterwards. I've been kicking names into the stands all morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir,
for having this discussion.
Yes, sir.
And we're here to talk about, this is not Mom and Pop's podcast. We're talking about heavy, deep issues with this podcast. And you experienced a tremendous tragedy just a few months ago.
Yes, sir.
Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So kind of frame for the listeners what your dad was like in your life.
So my father was a younger man. They had me at 16. So the Benoit is actually maiden name. Had a nice Christian hospital that my mom went to, and they weren't married, so I didn't get the Kane last name.
Okay.
But my dad he was tough and but caring. Regardless of what happened and what you perceive your father as when you're younger. A lot of kids of my day and age, and probably your generation as well, gentlemen, they got a whooping and they find out now that they deserved it. Okay. And they learned something from it. No matter what, we never went hungry, we were never cold.
So was your dad instrumental in encouraging you to join the Navy?
Absolutely, sir. My father, I can actually recall getting ready. I originally came in as an EOD technician, didn't pass through physical reasons, and then became an RP. I think that was actually more serendipitous.
And what is RP?
Religious program specialist,
okay.
Sir. So ecclesiastical and clerical assistance to the chaplain, and physical security in any case that we were in a kinetic environment.
So physical security, can you unpack that a little bit more for our listeners?
Chaplains, much like doctors, are considered non-combatants according to the Geneva Convention. So similarly, our job was called specialist welfare in the 40s because it was originally going to be a wartime rating in the Navy. But after Vietnam, they were like, well, we might need these actually. These individuals to support a chaplain. In that case, an individual that can't carry a firearm or use self-defense in that manner. So that's how the RP rating was essentially born in 1979.
Okay.
I had no idea. It's fascinating. So one of the things we're looking at through these different discussions is challenge and hardship, and how that ultimately prepares you for a crucible. And that crucible is that crisis in your life where you're tested unlike anything you've ever been tested before. And to get through that crisis, you have to transform and change. But before you can do that, you have to recognize that there's an abyss. And that abyss is usually the darkest moment of your entire life. That's where failure and giving up and ultimately death lies. And as the philosopher Nietzsche always says, if you stare long enough into the abyss, eventually the abyss may stare back into you, which means it literally consumes you. Is there a time in your life where you feel that both your faith and your warrior background helped you get through that really dark time, that crucible in your life?
Absolutely, sir. So like in a parallel to my father, with him passing away, it was so very unexpected. But I have strived to be a representation of what he did and taught me as being a strong man in my family. So one of my goals at the funeral was to be one of the strongest people in the room at that funeral, so that I can not only care for the ones that I truly care for, my blood, the closest caring and love that you can have, but to emulate that my father did not just give me something that went in one ear and out the other. That the things that he taught about integrity and being strong and being courageous stuck with me, and now I can be a reflection of what he taught.
And when you mention strength, it obviously wasn't physical strength you're talking about here. It's moral strength that's giving back. Kind of really share with our listeners what you think that experience would have been like had you not have that foundation and that maybe that discipline that your dad gave you, but also some of the things you learned going through the challenges of being in the military and the importance of your spiritual journey and faith and keeping you grounded to prepare you for that very significant crucible.
Absolutely. It's not, everything is not a storybook ending. A lot of things are real. Actually, it all is real, and some things are not fair. I can see that in that situation, if it were to have been any other way and I wasn't on that right, if I wasn't on a good path and having that same discipline that I've been taught, I could have broke down a lot worse. I have a lot of friends. I have a sibling who was one of the individuals that didn't take Dad's death too well. So being able to be there, keep my brother from not going to jail or anything of that nature, I don't think it was going to get to that, but to that degree, and to care for, my brother who is also a combat vet. So be able to, if I wasn't there, there might not have been a good rooted person there. And we need to have that root to keep a family tree together.
So, Petty Officer Benoit,
Yes, sir.
can you describe your personal battle rhythm as a warrior? What keeps you going and what keeps you on target?
So now, sir, I have a 2-year-old baby girl.
Congratulations.
And, thank you, sir. My girls, my wife and my daughter are truly the things that keep me grounded on earth right now. I do have a Christian background, so I do put God at the center of my life, and I try to make my decisions. Continually try to make my decisions centered around that. Similarly, when we speak about spiritual fitness to recruits, to Marines for that matter, is we understand that it is spiritual fitness. It is not one religion. It's what you define as the thing that keeps you going as a center. Stoicism in itself is one of those examples. Just to keep, when everything else breaks down, mental, physical, all those things, spiritual will come in because that's the thing that's driving you to stay alive.
Excellent.
It's funny, I'm sensing such a common thread here is that concept of grit and all those things that we talked about. And when you're truly stripped down to nothing, and I'm sure losing a loved one does bring you down pretty darn close to that abyss. It's having something there to ground you, as you said, in your faith. I'm interested in unpacking this a little bit more about you're talking about the importance of you being strong for your family during that horrible time. But I imagine that also helped you be strong for yourself, if that makes any sense, knowing that you had a responsibility to your father, to your faith, and as somebody that ministers to both wartime warriors and peacetime warriors. Talk to me a little bit about how your being strong for them helped you get through that difficult time.
So being strong for them, and if I'm going in the wrong way, just please let me know, is for my wife, my father was like a dad to her. So she's every bit of blood to me, and having that we continually date. That's the better. That is the good structure to having a biblically accurate marriage, I guess, was that we continually court each other and continually love each other, and to show my wife that I am strong and that I support her and that she has the desire to support me, not just out of a necessity, but just the actual wanting to be there and be proud that I was so strong in that situation, was just what she calls religious, spiritually mature, and that's a great attraction. Did I go the right direction?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, over your shoulders there behind you, it says "Don't give up this ship," and I see that all the time in Navy installations and Navy vessels. Tell me what that means to you.
So, what "Don't give up the ship" means to me. The chief hates it, but I am a dirt sailor so far. I have been with Seabees, on my first tour, Naval Mobile Construction Battalion, to the construction workers of the Navy, and that's the extent of my Navy time. The rest of the time as a sailor, I have been in MARPATs. I have been with Marines. I was with 2nd MEF before here, and now I'm here where all of them start, at least on this coast. What "Don't give up the ship" means, though, is for someone who's never been on ship is we're represented as a vessel. There's no better way to put that, is that we're represented as a vessel. We don't give up the ship, the vessel of your marriage, the vessel of your career, the vessel of your day. It should never be given up. And if anybody's going to go down with it, it's you.
It's tremendous. It's very deep.
Outstanding. So if you could go back and you could pick any time frame and give yourself, a younger you, knowledge or wisdom, not to alter your path, but a nugget that you would find it just priceless, how far back would you go and what would you tell yourself?
That one's always hard, sir. And being a sci-fi nerd or anything like that, I don't want to ruin the time space continuum.
Right.
That whole construct. But no, I don't know if my younger self would have listened is the problem. So I think I might have given myself a little wisdom about leadership, and i.e. leadership is ownership, is one of my main things is but I would let them know that the only way I'm learning these things is from the stupid things I've done, and been lucky enough to come out of those things. Is, you have to learn from trial by fire in some situations, and no matter what, you can pass the tools for those toolboxes for every single young Marine and sailor. Sometimes they don't know how to use a hammer. Sometimes they don't know how to use the drill. So they have to figure it out on their own. So I think the best thing that I would tell myself is that you're going to learn more and more about yourself, and you should try in every day to learn something from that day, so that it doesn't just get swept under the rug and you don't have to make those poor choices that you did.
That makes a lot of
yes, sir.
sense.
And I think that when you look at it in the construct of the warrior's journey, it is conflict, it is resistance, it is challenge that gets you prepared and gets you ready. And to your point is I love, I almost hear you saying that you had to go through those challenges as an individual rather than having yourself tell yourself, hey, it's going to be okay. No, you had to actually get through it and learn from that and train and develop that rhino skin, as Colonel Player always talks about, because that skin just doesn't get hard on its own. The calluses you have on your feet are a result of pounding a lot of sand and getting out there. And to your point is that helped you prepare for those challenges and those difficulties later on in life.
Yes, sir.
Tell me one more thing about, for our recruits that are going through, and arguably sometimes one of the most challenging parts of their life right now, and there's not a lot of light. And as an entrepreneur going through some of the darkness that I've and other entrepreneurs went through, 90% of entrepreneurs fail up to 10 years. 50% of them fail after 5 years. It's a brutally difficult thing, but talk to me about what helps you keep that light burning and gives you that inspiration to get through some of the challenges that you've had, but also that the recruits may be having now, or that other people out in business are having.
So for myself, I will continually, so as an example, is if you tell a kid every single day that he's stupid, he's going to grow up and he or she is going to think that he's stupid. So I'm not going to continually hurt my own psyche by saying that was stupid, Brad. That was dumb. How could you ever have done anything like that? I'm not going to just stew in negativity. I'm not going to stew and embellish myself in the positivity too and make myself pompous and have a big head. I'm going to think about the things that matter, and I'm going to put myself at that target. I'm going to put myself in a focal point, and I'm going to steer towards that, much like Pilgrim's Progress. I think that would be the best one, is the straight and narrow path. Because once everything else looks good, you want to go on that path, but then you're just like, well, I already have a way to go. So, and then ironically, one of the things that I do tell recruits when I have their ear, whenever they're standing in line for chapel or anything like that, or before we're going out for crucible, with my drill instructors, is the majority of them have seen Finding Nemo. And I say, what did Dory say? Just keep swimming. Just replace whatever you're doing, replace that swimming with whatever you're doing. Just keep pushing, just keep pulling, just keep sweeping, just keep marching.
I think that's fantastic. Just keep
Outstanding.
swimming.
Just keep
I like that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. We really
Thank you, sir.
appreciate you taking this time. I know it was a target of opportunity, but Chief Shine said that you were the appropriate person to touch base with because you had managed a tragedy recently, something that, for someone who hasn't lost a parent, I've lost both parents, so I know the pain that goes along with that. I applaud your courage and for sharing that experience with us and what you learned from it, and how iron sharpens iron. You are lifting up someone else as you tell your story. So thank you.
Thank you.
And
sir.
we have a tradition as we wrap up each episode of dedicating this to a fallen warrior. So is there somebody you'd like to dedicate this podcast to? And the warrior could be in uniform or out of uniform.
Oh, goodness gracious. So I'm going to go with the cliche, and I would love to dedicate this to my father.
That's not cliche.
Yes, sir.
That's not cliche.
Dale Michael Kane. He was a very, very good man, and I could tell because one of the things that I keep saying is there was not a parking space at that funeral.
That's great. His memory will live on through your actions and your daughter's actions, and you truly represent everything that's great about our military and our future, and we're deeply honored to spend time with you today.
Thank you for this time.
So with that, we'll wrap up our episode as we always do. Semper Fidelis.